Hi guys, it is July 1st, 2024. It's 9:26 p.m. and I have felt the need for a couple of days to make sure that I put this dream on. I know I put it on, but it may be in a little longer upload. And I felt the need to put it on again. Just redo it. Um and then a couple of minutes ago I ran across a Watchwoman's upload or video that she had done. I think it's called Watchwoman on the Wall, about July 4th and how she has been filling the pool to talk about things. And I was like, I need to do this. I need to get this on. So I'm going to read a couple of things. Um, I'm going to put her video in the description link. So you can go in the description and find that video of Watchwoman on the Wall. And then I'm going to retell the dream. Okay. Um, so in the dream, okay, I'm trying to see what I want to do first. I'm so sorry. I should have had this ready, but I just came down and not prepared. Okay. In the dream, I had a part in the dream that had 2 quarters and 1 dime. Okay. And you'll hear about that. And I really couldn't figure out what the quarters and dime were, except, okay, 50 cents and 10, so 60. Is it the price of a coin back when in the Bible? Is it the amount? Is the price of bread like going up? What is that? 2 quarters and a dime. Well, who's on the quarter? George Washington. We know George Washington. He's the one of the founding fathers, right? Okay, founding father. And then okay, then FDR, okay, Franklin D. Roosevelt is on the dime. But it says who was on the dime before FDR? The pre 1946 coin featured Lady Liberty, stylized as the goddess Mercury. Okay, so false god, right? Stylized as the goddess Mercury. Cynic scrapped everything. His new plan called for a large portrait of Roosevelt with Liberty to the left and In God We Trust below. Okay, and I found that. Then, apologize, I'm going through my phone and I don't have space on my computer where you can see me talking and doing any of this. Okay, I'm gonna scroll all the way down. Okay, so then I went to Franklin D. Roosevelt at whitehouse.gov. Okay, and what it talks about him really quick. I'm just going to read this to you. He was the 32nd president of the United States. Assuming the presidency at the depth of the Great Depression, Franklin D. Roosevelt helped the American people regain faith in themselves. Faith in themselves. He brought hope as he promised, prompt, vigorous action, and asserted in his inaugural address, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Okay, and then it talks about where he was born and who he married. Okay, Eleanor Roosevelt. And it says he was born in 1882 at Hyde Park, New York, now a National Historic Site. He attended Harvard University and Columbia Law School. St. Patrick's Day, 1905, he married Eleanor Roosevelt. Following the example of the fifth cousin, this isn't long. Following the example of his fifth cousin, President Theodore Roosevelt, whom he greatly admired, Franklin D. Roosevelt entered public service through politics, but as a Democrat. He won election to the New York Senate in 1910. President Wilson appointed him Assistant Secretary of the Navy. He was the Democratic nominee for Vice President in 1920. In the summer of 21, when he was 39, disaster hit. He was stricken with polio, demonstrating indomitable courage, he fought to regain the use of his legs, particularly through swimming. At the 1924 Democratic Convention, he dramatically appeared on crutches to nominate Alfred E. Smith as the Happy Warrior. In 1928, Roosevelt became governor of New York. He was elected president in November 1932 to the first of four terms. By March, there was 13 million unemployed, and almost every bank was closed. In the first 100 days, he proposed and Congress enacted a sweeping program to bring recovery to business and agriculture, relief to the unemployed and to those in danger of losing farms and homes, and reform, especially through the establishment of the Tennessee Valley Authority. This all reminds me of um, Revelations and where we are now. Okay, what we're going through. By 1935, the nation had achieved some measure of recovery, but businessmen and bankers were turning more and more against Roosevelt's New Deal program. They feared his experiments, were appalled because he had taken the nation off the gold standard and allowed deficits in the budget, and disliked the concessions to labor. Roosevelt responded with a new program of reform, Social Security, heavier taxes on the wealthy, new controls over banks and public utilities, and an enormous work relief program for the unemployed. In 1936, he was reelected by a top heavy margin. Feeling he was armed with a popular mandate, he sought legislation to enlarge the Supreme Court, which had been invalidating key New Deal measures. Roosevelt lost the Supreme Court battle, but a revolution in constitutional law took place. Thereafter, the government could legally regulate the economy. The government could legally regulate the economy. Roosevelt had pledged the United States to the good neighbor policy. Okay, listen to this. Transforming the Monroe Doctrine from a unilateral American manifesto into arrangements for mutual action against aggressors. He also sought through neutrality legalization. Oh gosh, I can't talk tonight. Legislation to keep the United States out of the war in Europe, yet at the same time to strengthen nations threatened or attacked. When France fell and England came under siege in 1940, he began to send Great Britain all possible aid short of actual military involvement. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, Roosevelt directed organization of the nation's manpower and resources for global war. Feeling that the future peace of the world would depend upon relations between the United States and Russia, he devoted much thought to the planning of a United Nations, in which he hoped international difficulties could be settled. As the war drew close to a close, Roosevelt's health deteriorated. On April 12, 1945, while at Warm Springs, Georgia, he died of a cerebral hemorrhage. I'm sorry. Ugh, cannot talk. Okay, so um, I'm going to go with this. I have been talking about 4th of July with my family and things like that, and we know that things can happen. We know the rapture's close. I'm not setting dates, but we know that things can happen that we need to be prepared for, and it could happen anytime. Things could happen anytime. Just make your heart ready. Make sure that you're ready. My daughter and I were talking, and she was like, I was thinking about the 4th of July, and it's red, white, and blue, and red's for the blood of Jesus. And white is because he makes us clean. He washes us white as snow. And blue is the water when he got speared in the side and the water came pouring out of him. It's the water. It's like his voice. It's like it says his voice is like the sound of many waters in Revelations. And she started getting the verses of Revelations where it talks about Jesus's feet are like bronze. Is it bronze? They're refined in the fire as bronze, and his voice is like the sound of many waters. And she goes, and the blue is, the water, but it's also the Holy Spirit. And I said, well, yeah, that's completely true. And we celebrate the freedom. That's what 4th of July is our independence. It's our freedom. The only problem is that we celebrate freedom and we worship and honor our country instead of worshiping and honoring God, because Jesus is our freedom. We worship the wrong freedom, right? Um, so then we started talking about that. And I'm I'm just gonna say I found something funny. Without giving like personal information. I know I've said this before that our, you know, where we were moved to, the definition of that, where we are is to escape by flight, which was brought to us a year ago, that's what it meant, and that somewhere in some of our numbers is the years that we're in. I just find it funny, without giving you all the information. I find it non-coincidental. There's no coincidences. Like I've said before in many videos, that a year and a half ago, I was told to put Psalms 84 on my mirror by my front door. And so I wrote it in permanent marker, and I didn't know why until months after. And I would say, okay, 5784 out the door, because 5784 means the door. Okay. And I had Psalms 84. And I go, Psalms 84 out the door. And then I realized that it was 5784. And 5784 is the year we're in. 5784 means door. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, there's so much more, but I don't want to make this too long. Jesus is the door. He's the narrow path. Be on the narrow path with him. Follow him. He's the only way. He is the truth. He is the way. He is the life. He is the door. He says no one gets to the Father except through him. He is the path. He's the only path. Narrow is the way. Wide is the way to destruction. I'm going to give you the dream again. And hopefully I've said everything that needs to be said. Okay, I had a dream. And the dream, we were on like a school field trip. And so we were on a bus. And I was a student. And at times I was a student, at times I was just watching. And sometimes I think I was like a teacher looking in or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm on the field trip bus. And we went to like this bed and breakfast place that was like a huge, like, I don't remember what the outside looked like, but when you were inside, it had like, big tables you can eat, and it was like farmhouse, like log cabiny farmhouse, and the people that owned it try to give you the experience of that, like colonial, like how they cook or what you eat and how you act during the day and things like that. It was a husband wife, or a family and husband wife, and that's where we were. So I know we woke up that morning, and we were on the bus headed to a museum. And I remember sitting on the bus, and there was, in front of me, there was a teacher and a guy, like a teenage guy or something. And I was sitting halfway on the seat, halfway in the middle of the aisle, like sitting or whatever. And he was like, here, take my seat, because there was something wrong, or he thought that I was uncomfortable or something. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm fine, really. And I was looking out the front windshield. I was like, no, I'm good. And then all of a sudden we were in the museum.
and teachers were walking around, and the students were walking around, and you had time to just kind of look and read and go through and look at everything. But myself and I think two other girls, and that guy were sitting on this long, like, sofa bench thing, and we had a game board on the floor by that. So the two girls were sitting on the floor. I was like laid out on the sofa, like on my side. The guy was sitting by me, and then at some point there was a teacher by my feet. Like she came to sit down and rest because, she was a little tired or whatever. And I remember being really interested. I wanted to look around at like what the museum had, but we were really interested in this game board, and for some reason it was better to do the game board than to look around at the museum. So the questions on the game board were like history questions or things that had went on or going on, and there was a pile of like silver coins on the floor by the game board. Okay, and every time you answered a question right, you got 2 quarters and 1 dime. Because I remember separating out because we got something right, I got something right, and we got 2 quarters and 1 dime. And every time that you got something right, we were going to put it in a baggie. So every time we won something, we were going to put it in a little Ziploc baggie, and then we were going to be able to give it to the museum that we were at or the people that we were with to help them. Like we were earning money to help people somehow. Okay, so I got a question, and it was on a little a little game board card, like a little cardboard card or whatever. And it was something, I remember the girl read it, that was sitting on the floor, and she said something about when something happened, and and there was it seemed like some kind of battle going on or something, which is weird, like something happened on Ellis Island, okay, then this person was born on that day on Ellis Island. And I was like, that battle on Ellis Island, I was like, who was born on Ellis Island? I was thinking, and I was like, well, could it be like Davy Crockett or Daniel Boone? And I was like, it couldn't be Abraham Lincoln. I said, it couldn't be Abe Lincoln. It's like Daniel Boone or Davy Crockett. And then the teacher beside me was like, said a name, and was like pushing for me to understand the last part of the name, like, the suffix, like giving me hints or something. And I was like, Abe? Really? Abe? And they were like, yeah, Abraham Lincoln or whatever, right? And I was like, Abraham Lincoln wasn't born on Ellis Island. He was born on a little log cabin, in a little log cabin. And I was like, oh, okay. So Ellis Island and Abraham Lincoln, and so I got my 2 quarters and a dime. So then, all of a sudden, we were back at the bed and breakfast thing that we were staying in as the school, okay, or the class or whatever, and we had dinner, and the wife had like I said, it was done with, I don't know, the long tables and wooden tables, and it was like, I don't know, she was in the garments she should be wearing and the period or something, I don't know. And all the kids had eaten, but it had taken a little longer. It was nighttime. We all had to go to bed. It had taken a little longer. And the husband was kind of the one talking. And I believe the husband gave some kind of speech or was talking about something. And he did a quote that someone did back in that period. It was talking about the character of people or the character of men. I can't remember the quote. And then all the students went up and started like getting ready for bed, or just, like it was the end of the day, it was getting ready for bed. And when everyone was gone, he kind of condemned his wife, like like put her down, saying that, you know, next morning she had to be better or quicker, and she didn't do that well of a job because it wasn't on time, and just he was putting her down, demeaning her a little bit, like he was a little prideful. And then he walked into like a back room, and he was going to wash his hands, like it was almost like a restroom, but it wasn't. But he was going to wash his hands, and then all of a sudden, this woman came out, and I was watching this time, right? So this woman, like, was behind the door, for some reason, and she was one of the teachers or something. Okay, I think it was probably the same teacher that was sitting on the couch with me at my feet when I was doing the board game. But she came, and she kind of moved the door out of the way when he was like washing his hands. And she opened the door a little bit because she was in the room, and she stepped out, and she heard what he said, like he was condemning his wife and doing this, right, demeaning her. And she stated the quote back to him that he had done about like character, like moral character and character. And she stated the quote back to him, and was kind of saying, your character's bad. Like, oh, you just condemned this person. And he was stating a quote, like the quote he was saying, he was condemning this man, saying, oh, he did this quote that you had to be this really like moral person or this good person, but then he wasn't. And then, so in that space and in that time, she was going, well, you just did the quote, but you just did the same thing. Meaning, like, you just, you're thinking that you're better, or you're morally better, or that you do no wrong, and you did this quote, but then you just went and put down your wife, and you're prideful. So the way she said it, and the way she re-quoted it back to him, and he knew what she was talking about. He knew that she had been listening. And it was kind of a correction. Like, I see what you did, and you need to think about the quote you just did. And she walked out of the room. And then I woke up. And then I got Ephesians 3:10. And for some reason, this is just kind of maybe how my brain works or something. I was laying here and I was thinking, how can I help the wife to, and I'm wide awake. I'm not even in that situation anymore, but I was just thinking, how can I help the wife to do breakfast in the morning? How can we all help out? Like, what? And I was thinking, I was like, well, we can all eat, and then we all wash our dishes when we're done. Wash our own dish really quick, and then we get on the bus and go. And I was like, well, no, you use paper plates and things like that, but then they're not in period. They didn't have them. We could throw away or whatever. I was like, oh, if we know we're going somewhere, we can do sack lunches, like sack breakfast. And there could be a sandwich ready, and folded with maybe wax paper or some kind of little, like, napkin that you can use, like a hanky or something, with some thread on it, around it, some twine, and then they can hand a bag, and then behind them they can grab a fruit and a drink. And I was like, yeah, that would work, like a breakfast thing. We can all help out.
Now, I've already done this before. You can research out or back in my videos. Just within the past, let's see, I got that. on June 18th, 2024. So around June 18th is when I uploaded that, but felt the need that I needed to re-upload that. So there's some revelations that I was given when I first uploaded it. Um, you can skim through that and listen to that as well, um, and hear the meaning on those. But I'm also going to give the scripture. Like I said, I was Ephesians 3:10. So I'm going to put that, and then I'm going to link the video to the Watchwoman, her upload.